Really popular and prominent social media influencers who are also mental health professionals have gone on record and have said that research does not support that personality disorders are caused more by genetic factors than environmental factors. Now, I totally understand why certain people in certain positions would spread a rumor like this. People who have built entire careers, cultivated worldwide followings, and have sold best-selling books based on their preferred social and developmental theories, their preferred approaches to psychotherapy, their preferred interpretations about human behavior, and their preferred interpretations about psychopathology, understandably, are not going to be quick to admit how many flaws there are in their theories because their life's work is based on these theories. That is understandable to a degree. To deny that the research exists outright in light of hard evidence, that seems a bit close-minded. And these are the types of mental health professionals and influencers who encourage their patients and their followers to keep an open mind, to question everything, to be flexible, to challenge their shortcomings and their limiting beliefs. For those same individuals to deny that this research exists when we have it and to refuse to look at it, we have to ask a few questions and answer them so that it is abundantly clear what the discrepancy is when we look solely at environment and we ignore the genetic link. First question is this: how come most survivors of abuse and neglect are not narcissists? If trauma is the cause of narcissism, then why don't all trauma survivors become narcissists? And the answer is not that the ones who don't become narcissists become empaths. There is no basis for this, no research. This is an unscientific idea. And to be quite honest, it's a bit ridiculous. The next question we have to ask: how come most children with permissive parents who have been overvalued and overindulged do not become narcissists? Aren't those the two social pathways that lead to narcissism and that have been accepted as fact by popular media? Why are there so many exceptions to this theory about these two pathways? The reason why neither of those pathways produce a narcissist every time, and the reason why those two pathways cannot and have not ever been able to predict the development of a personality disorder like narcissism, is because people with different biological temperaments respond to their environment in different ways. Not all environmental events are internalized in the same way by every single human being walking the face of the earth. What research, the research that does exist, what it has shown us is that temperament is what determines the type of personality disorder that can develop in an individual, and temperament determines whether or not a personality disorder can develop at all. Trauma can't determine this. Neither can overindulgence or overvaluation. These findings disprove many long-held assumptions about social and psychological constructs from social learning theory and developmental psychology. The widely held belief that parenting quality is the primary determining factor that shapes personality is incorrect. While there are negative effects of poor parenting, including abuse and neglect are not the causes of narcissism, and overindulgence and overvaluation is not influential enough to cause narcissism all on its own. Abuse, neglect, overvaluation, and overindulgence are risk factors that can work to amplify disorder in a trait profile that already exists as a result of biological temperament. Here is where it gets very interesting. Risk factors like abuse, neglect, overvaluation, and overindulgence are considered non-essential or unnecessary risk factors when it comes to narcissism. What this means is there is no actual research that shows that abuse and neglect or overvaluation or overindulgence have to be present in order for narcissistic personality disorder to develop. They don't have to be present, which means they're not causes. They are risk factors. So they can be altogether absent, and we still have narcissists. That being said, there are controlled studies that have shown that there are many individuals who have no history of abuse or neglect, no history of permissive parenting style, including overindulgence or overvaluation, and who meet the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Social and developmental theories that claim that only social and developmental theories can explain how narcissism develops in an individual are based on arguments of ignorance. This is most obvious to people who have raised these individuals, and it's also very obvious in clinical settings. Why doesn't traditional psychotherapy reduce a narcissist's sense of entitlement? Why doesn't it reduce their manipulativeness? Why doesn't it reduce their need for admiration? Why doesn't traditional psychotherapy increase a narcissist's capacity for empathy? After all, if narcissists are just wounded children, then these interventions, these traditional interventions that are designed to heal childhood wounds, theoretically should work on them, right? Or at least help a little bit. So why don't they work? Psychotherapeutic modalities that view narcissism as a trauma-related disorder or a disorder related to failed attachment or a disorder related to some adverse experiences early in a child's life or a parenting style or type. These theories, when applied to a narcissist in psychotherapy, actually feed a narcissist's self-centered emotional needs. So it would be really nice if popular mental health professionals would at least consider these facts. Personality is rooted in biological temperament. Traits that people are born with set limits to the extent that people can change. With pathological traits, like narcissistic traits, the extent of change is minimal, if any at all. All human behavior is the product of two interacting factors: heredity and environment. Genes make some people more vulnerable to environmental experiences and other people less vulnerable to environmental experiences. Genes are literally what make up the human brain, and denying biological explanations for some of the more severe disorders, including narcissism, is quite simply a voluntary act of ignorance. Trauma survivors and victims of abuse inflicted by narcissists are also getting really tired of being grouped into the same category as a narcissist. I would like to propose that we move into a reality era of psychology and psychotherapy, where we stop banging our heads against the wall, expecting different results, and we open our minds to face the facts. These classical views and traditional theories about narcissism, they fall short. They haven't helped in treatment, and they haven't helped abuse victims get better. They are based on subjective interpretations that don't really do any good. We need to move into a reality era where biology is acknowledged and takes its natural place in its contributions to mental health and mental disorders.